What are some green flags on a first date? Story number 1. We accidentally showed up at the wrong restaurant. Well, I showed up at one on the north end of town. She was at the one on the south end. She ended up coming to meet me halfway, and after dinner we talked at a park at a lake until 2 in the morning, and it felt like no time had passed. She wasn't on her phone at all. I told her I don't kiss on the first date just to make sure it's not about a hookup. At the end of the night, as I was dropping her off at her car, she gave me a nervous smile and then kissed me. Then she gave me a hug and even texted me to see if I got home, as she ended up making it to her place before I got to mine. Anyway, we've been married for 8 years now. Story number 2. I was sick with something, lot of pollen where I'm from. We'd barely been talking a week on a dating website, and I had mentioned my sore throat and runny nose. She asked me for my address. Me being a dude, thought nothing of it and figured it was for the date coming up. I didn't have a car, so she'd figured out how to pick me up, as she didn't have one either. 2 hours later, I get a knock on the front door. A bag of assorted cough drops, tissues, cough medicine, just everything you could think of, hot chocolate included. We had our first date the next day, and boy was I sappy. Story number 3. My adult daughter went on a first date with this guy she met on a dating app. We were worried sick, making sure she texted us her location every time she went somewhere else. She got very sick on the date, and he took her to the ER, waiting with her for almost 6 hours. When she went back, he wasn't allowed to go with her, so he instead went and got her Waffle House. Since they had missed dinner, she still wasn't out after 6 hours, so he sat in his car with the heat on during Georgia summer, so her food stayed hot. When she finally got out, he drove her home with her food because he wanted to make sure she got some rest. Since she was sick, they made plans to go on another date. When she got to feeling better, they got married 3 months ago. We love him, and I officiated the ceremony. Story number 4. I was living in Senegal, and I met an Irish guy there on Tinder. He was on a vacation with his parents. I wasn't really interested to go, since I get so lazy to fix myself. I was like an hour and a half late to the date. But he still waited. I went with my wet hair to the bar, and he was like super handsome. The date was kinda awkward at first cause I wasn't feeling that pretty, and I was super late. But he tried to make things fine and kept telling me how beautiful I am. He was supposed to join his parents an hour after, but we enjoyed the conversation, so he phoned them that he's not coming. We went out on a walk, and I took him to my favorite spot. And he asked me gently if he could kiss me, and I said yes. We kissed and then took a walk and went shopping for cat food and had mango on our way. The green flag was him being so caring and understanding, and he was so nice. I didn't expect him to keep texting me after, since it's just a Tinder date, so I stopped replying, cause I didn't want to get attached, but we got so close after, and he asked me after 3 months to be his girlfriend, and I said yes. A month after it, we went on our second date in another country, and I'm so in love, and he's coming today to meet me in my home country. Story number 5. Not first date, but the moment I knew I was gonna marry this man. We went grocery shopping. It was about 9 p.m. We had both just been paid. The young lady in line in front of us had a very young baby and was paying with WIC coupons and a food stamp EBT card. Her total came to about $22, and she was holding a $20. She looked dejected and put back the one and only thing that was probably her splurge, a candy bar and an energy drink. Other than that, she had baby food, diapers, chicken, rice, bananas, formula, wipes, the bare minimum. I turned around to tell my now husband to hand me my wallet. I didn't have to. He already had his out, took out a $50 bill, handed it to her, and told her to keep the change. He changed her week. He changed my life. That was the moment I knew he was it for me. Story number 6. On my first date with my past girlfriend, she saw someone struggling with a cart at the park we were at, a vendor closing up their food stand for the day, and she got ready to leap up from the grass where we were sitting to go help the person. No hesitation, no questions. No qualms about rudeness towards me, which it wasn't, nothing, just this springboard of instant human recognition and kindness. Just then the vendor got her cart over the bump she was struggling with, and my ex sat back down. But I saw it play out many times after that. If there was a struggle or suffering, she stood up to stand in the gap. She was absolutely one of those people, no questions asked, and she had a gentle, humorous way of putting people at total ease so that they would accept her help. That first date I knew, and I told her about it afterwards. She could not understand why I thought this was so important or why I was so impressed as the truly good and kind do, but I had spent several years in an earlier time period with a selfish, self-involved, and occasionally cruel man. I knew what the opposite of that looked like. I knew how the opposite of that could twist a person. I knew what it was like struggling myself. And I knew she was a keeper because she didn't do it to impress me. She didn't look to me first. She didn't elaborately ask me for permission to excuse herself to go help. She just saw it and jumped up. We eventually split for reasons that had nothing to do with that, but it was and still is one of the most important relationships of my life, and her trustworthy human kindness was never and still is never in question about her. Story number 7. Was interesting to read a men's perspective. Noticed that nearly every comment had one thing in common: for her to offer to split the bill. Now, I get that those are modern times and all, and possibly could be that I come from a different culture, but from this woman's perspective, if a man wants to split the bill, it just means that he's not that interested. Either that, or he goes on hundreds of dates, so paying in each case would understandably be a burden. But then again, if he's that indiscriminate, then I'm in no way special to him, in which case, perhaps it's best to steer clear. Now, I never order a lot. In fact, usually a soup or something similar, which is the cheapest, precisely as to not put him into a bad position. In fact, it'd be far easier to choose if I pay for myself. But it feels like I'd be robbing him of the opportunity to be nice, to make a good impression, and show his interest, you know. But then, I also don't want to make him feel used, etc. Heck, come to think of it, this sort of contradiction is precisely why I actually avoided any dates for years. Story number 8. Being medium, dolled up, putting in zero effort for a first date is a red flag, of course, but not everyone talks about the red flag of putting in too much effort. It can really show that the girl is high maintenance and will just be exhausting to date. It can also be an indication that they will see certain things as owed to them based off the effort they put into the date. It's sort of the same thing as when a guy spends way too much on a first date. There's just some love bombing going on there in some way you're being sold to. A girl who puts in medium effort is the green flag. She cares about the date enough to look nice but is still being real with you. You're not being sold to and are able to actually focus on getting to know them.